Hey everybody, it's Jeremy. Welcome back to Dreamers Game 1, where we are playing Yomi. This is turn 85. Let's jump into things. We've got, right off the top, we've got Evocation 5. Cool, great, fantastic. Evocation 5 gives us a couple of little goodies that, you know, are still worthwhile at this point in the game. I actually think Evocation is kind of actually, let's go off on a tangent here. I think Evocation is actually kind of a really cool tree that gets, I don't know, some people really like it, but there feels like there's this general consensus across the community that, you know, Evocation isn't as good as, like, thugging or, you know, buff magic or things like that. And there's definitely, right, like, downsides to it, but I actually think, like, Evocation is one of the more budget trees, right? Some of the stuff you get at Evocation 3, 4, 5, right, is really, really good and will last you a very long time in the game. So I'm not going to go on a crazy tangent about how I feel about Evocation and how I feel about high Evocation and yada, yada, yada. But I do think we've hit Evocation 5, and we are going to get some pretty good stuff from it that we can make use of in particular situations. Specifically, right off the bat, Storm is going to be particularly useful in some aspects. Not all, because we're probably going to be doing mass flight a fair amount of the time, right? Gifts from Heaven is really not something that we have on our plate, but Earthquake actually is something that is on our plate, and we could still pull out some interesting little earthquake traps here or there. We could potentially even pull out an earthquake trap on Ermor, because, I say trap, but, you know, because their augurs, for example, aren't actually very tough. So, you know, sending in 2 Troll Kings or something like that, or correctly outfitted individuals into a fort, 1, 2, 3 earthquakes, that type of situation, could actually do a fair amount of damage to Ermor as a whole. So I think that's really interesting. And then I actually think Shadow Blast is a incredibly good spell. I think generally it's viewed as a very strong evocation. So this is something that I think is useful for pretty much the rest of the game. Anyways, it is going to be a quick run up evocation. We'll hit level 6 next time. 7 will take us 2 to 3 more turns after that, probably just 2. 8 will take us, so we're gonna pretty rapidly start to go through evocation. Moving back on. I look at my list and I see, okay, this is becoming a problem now. Not really because of what we're losing from the military side of things. We're losing a few units here or there. We are losing the occasional mage. Primarily, we are actually losing on the occasion liches and vampires, which is only really concerning when we lose their equipment, right? When we lose their gear. Otherwise, they come back, so it's not that big of a deal. But what is the most concerning thing is this is the 3rd Armageddon, and we already have really bad income to begin with. We now have negative income. This has gone south really quickly. And interestingly enough, to kind of like talk about the situation, Ermor and I haven't really been talking about talking to each other, right? Like, Ermor is not performing these Armageddons as threats, right? It's not a scenario where Ermor is trying to, like, buy me off or threaten me with the Armageddons. Ermor has just entered into this scenario of, like, if I'm going down, the whole world is going with me. And I can't remember if it's now or if it's a little bit later, but some people have started to like message me and be like, yo, how are things going with Ermor? What's up with the Armageddons, right? Like, in this kind of concept of, like, because this is the 3rd one, and I think at this point the whole world is feeling it. So, ow, that that hurt. We've got a couple of manifestations. All of these manifestations were actually targeting the location where that new army of Ether Warriors sprung up, right? Where it appeared. And this is for two reasons. One, it's because we saw his god there, right? And two, because the hope is that there are fewer mages here than there are in his capital, and maybe we can snipe his god and or snipe an Ether Lord, because we've already seen that the Ashen Angels can kill an Ether Lord if they get the chance. And they have another chance right here. So, we got Caster, who has no gear. Does some raised skeletons. A solid 22 right off the bat. $16. Fucking easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Ashen Angel strikes again. That Ether Lord, that is a powerful, expensive commander, right? To lose to 4 death gems, you know? We have another manifestation, so let's see what we get this time. We've got... my voice is going. We've got an Augur. Not really a big deal, but nice to take out, right? Like, probably not worth 4 gems necessarily, but, you know, I don't know. I take that back. I think at this point, 4 gems is, considering we have an income of like nearly 30 death gems, 4 gems to take out a mage is, almost any mage, right, is worthwhile, because, you know, this Augur is still communion fodder, right? This Augur can still do evocations, right? So I think worthwhile. And then we have one more manifestation. And this one is up against a second Ether Lord. This one does have a cleansing chime, which is interesting, and a spell focus, fool's penetration. Let's see how this goes. Enslave Mind. Did not work. Hand of Death. No, not Hand of Death. Oh! Hand of Death is the worst, right? Hand of Death is the thing that, like, gets my Ashen Angels the most. So, that was remotes for the turn. We had an Armageddon, and then we had 3 manifestations where we had 2 wins and 1 loss. So, pretty happy about the killing of the Ether Lord. Really unhappy at this point. I know the first one, I talked about the first one and I was like, the first Armageddon was whatever, you know, it's not that big of a deal. The second one started to become a big deal. The third one is now a big deal. So, very unhappy about that. But it is what it is. We've got some other stuff this turn, exciting stuff this turn. We tried to cast End of Culture, and the Global Enchantment was cast successfully. But that's not the only thing to happen this turn. We have another dire portent. Thanks. I hate it. From time to time, seers skilled in the astral ways are visited by terrible dreams of a coming atrocity. An atrocity that will pour poison into the very veins of magic, pollute the astral wellsprings, and call upon the slaves of unreason to prey upon seers, sages, and sorcerers alike. Lanka put up fucking astral corruption. My god, why is my life Lankas and astral corruptions? Why? Why is that a thing? Stop it. Okay, so let's check. How crazy lucky. How crazy lucky. Our End of Culture, we talked about this last turn, right? Like, I was pretty sure we probably wouldn't beat Arcane Nexus, right? That normally gets thrown up with as big an overcast as it can be, right? I was pretty sure we would beat Stellar Focus, because that tends to go up with as base or small a cast as you can get, right? Well of Misery, obviously, we know that's a big one. And Forge of Agents, we could assume that that was large, right? We got lucky. We ran against Stellar Focus, and we won. That's fantastic. What's even more interesting is that the Astral Corruption did not hit either of our globals, and it hit the Arcane Nexus and overpowered it. That is, which is not necessarily surprising, honestly. When you throw up our Astral Corruption, you're probably going to overpower almost anything, right? Even when Blood Slaves don't count as much as gems do, still it is so easy to get Blood Slaves that you can do something easy like a 600-700 Astral Corruption with almost zero. I mean, I say zero, like it's not hard, right? It's a couple turns. We do not have any real blood hunting. We are not a blood nation. And I was getting to the point to where I was getting like 40 blood slaves per turn, right? You know, so an actual blood economy can easily be getting 100 to 200 slaves per turn, can easily fuel just stupid high astral corruptions without almost any issue. So, not surprising that astral corruption overwrote Arcane Nexus, but very lucky that it hit Arcane Nexus, not one of ours. Very cool. Very unfortunate that it is up at all, but them's the breaks when there's blood nations in the game. I swear to God. Okay, here's the thing. At least I have the lessons learned from Tetragrammaton, right? At least I have the lessons learned from that excruciating experience. So I know what I can do against astral corruption should this need to be a long game, right? So, for this turn, we have Globals, Yomi with End of Culture, and Lanka with Astral Corruption. It's Astral Corruption, right? It's not Arcane Corruption. Yeah, it's Astral Corruption. Astral Corruption. Always hope that. Anyways, we've got very little site searching. Auspex found nothing. Gnomelore found nothing. Augury found nothing. And that's really it. So, we have captured 13 Blood Slaves. And that's it for the gem income for the turn. New gem income for the turn, at least. Right. We had a Shaman get attacked by a Horror Mantis and die. Let's check and see. I think this is just because he has... you know, he's horror marked from using a Lightless Lantern, which is, you know, we're now at that point in the game where units are horror marked and their, you know, astral corruption's up, so astral corruption is there's just gonna be more horrors, so we're gonna get more and more losses when it comes to this type of situation. He did Starfires. He tried his little heart out. Okay, so there's that. We get to witness a battle in Florian. There's a little no item raid against a Moonblade and an Enchanted Salt. These are stolen. These are seduced. Is this lady a seductress? Does not look like it. That's interesting, but it definitely seems like Ubar has some sort of way to take Banyarls. And that one just got dead immediately. So, unfortunate. 2 Vanyarls stolen. Not from this, obviously, but still quite interesting. Okay. Next up, we have a battle in Jankeep. So, if you remember, we already attacked in Jankeep, and after that battle, there were only 4 augurs left. So all we have is a handful of Onishugo and a Dioni that are all just going to horde of skeletons. And the augurs. Wow! One wolf killed an augur. The other augurs were all annihilated by one of their flame eruptions. So yikes! That's a spicy meatball. And I don't think, the archers here are not going to last very long against the hordes of undead. So yeah, easy peasy. Did we lose anything? We lost nothing. We found 2 lightless lanterns. We raised a fortress. Awesome. Okay, battles for this turn. 1 battle versus Urmor, and it was a win. Very nice. Quite happy about that. We've got a whole bunch of events, but just like last turn, with another Armageddon, most of these events worldwide are going to be rebirth events. So, we got an elemental summon, that is one thing, in Brightwoods. And then we had rebirth event, rebirth event, rebirth event, rebirth, rebirth, and in Zamiki, we had 5 air gems. So, we'll do air gems plus 5 for events. Suppose we can go look at the water elemental too. It's just a little bitty water elemental. Unfortunate. Okay. Oh, and we also got plus 10 defense in Moliton. Where is that? Hey, that's nice. Ooh, actually got some heavy cav there. That's cool. The fortification in Zox is unharmed, and people are starving now because there's very little population. Our population in our capital is down below 2,500. Same in Ulm and same in Hinnom now. Like, Urmor's Armageddons are doing a fucking number on us. Our income is below our upkeep, which is going to be real bad here in a second. We've got no recruitment this turn. I did no recruitment last turn as well, because I was worried that this might happen. So, that is bad. Fingers crossed that we don't get more Armageddons, because, oof. Alright. Movements. In our Heartlands, just moving around Ko'Oni, not a big deal. Over in the actual war zone with Urmor, we've got, I think, 3 main things that are happening. The first is we have Pusswound coming in with a small amount of undead. The intention there is to arrive in locations and try to patrol unrest down, right? To try to make some sort of income from these places, because we really need it, okay? Aside from that, we are trying to consolidate things kind of towards Belmar. I guess we have got 4 things really happening. So sending this little stack of trolls into Erd and consolidating some things onto Belmar. I say consolidating onto Belmar. I guess really we're consolidating onto Zox. Yeah. So we're consolidating onto Zox with more of our forces. We're raiding into Kolar Megar. So really, again, we're going to keep going around trying to take everything from Urmor before we try to jump onto their capital. We know their god is still down in God's Tomb Mountains, so we are going to... I'll talk about that later, but we are, I think... No, we're targeting Pannonia. Never mind. Eat my fucking words. I forgot what I was doing. We're not doing anything to God's Tomb right now. What we are doing is targeting Pannonia. This is the second term. I believe he has set this army here. So we're going to move into it and see if we can fight it. We're bringing in all of the forces from Brightwoods. We're bringing in forces with Tejo. We're bringing in Benjiro. And we're flying in another Fairy Queen. We're going to have a decent little size of Ko'Oni here. We're going to have a bunch of trolls. We're going to have some sprites, right, that have the elf shot that can fatigue things out, so that's good. We're going to be able to create a fair amount of skeletons, right? And very specifically, we're going to have Army of Lead, Mass Regeneration, and Mass Flight. The hope here is that we are going to overwhelm the Ether Warriors. They're going to be somewhat difficult for us to hit because of their ethereal, right? But they do not have regeneration unless he has snuck a regeneration caster in there, which who knows. But all things considered, if it's just what's going on there, we should be fine. Also, apparently, I'm trying to snipe a commander with a manifestation, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know. And yeah, that's mostly it. Trying to take out this force. If this works, right, then probably what I am likely to do is I'm likely to just take this force, and what remains here, which is probably just going to be some Onishugo, and I'll probably just try to put them on Ermor, right? I am more than willing to attack his capital if he's not going to do anything, right? So, yeah, that's pretty much it. As far as rituals and forging goes, we are significantly less than what we were because of astral corruption, right? So now we've got to start dealing with astral corruption. As far as rituals go, we do still have a couple of site searches. We have an Auspex and a Gnome Lore, which honestly I think I just left up because I missed them. But when I was going back through, I saw that they were there. So we have an Auspex, we have a Gnome Lore. We have our 9 corpse constructions, primarily because astral corruption tends to run off of the concept of higher level casting and off of gem usage, right? So if you use more gems or it's a higher level spell, you're more likely to summon a horror. Corpse construction uses 1 gem, and it's I think like a first level spell. Is it first level spell? Yeah, it's first level spell. So very, very unlikely that we will get targeted by horrors. And I'm kind of at the point of maybe this is how I will stop myself from doing corpse construction, because if people die to the horrors and I can't produce corpses anymore, I'll probably just be like, okay, well, now we're down to 8. Now we're down to 6. Now we're down to 5, you know, that type of situation. So, anyways, and then aside from the 9 corpse constructions that we normally do, we are still doing a Curse of Blood, right? Which is a little dicey. Oh, actually, it's not dicey at all. It's blood, so it doesn't affect us. We're not worried about it. And then we are doing a manifestation, but for manifestation, we have put a Ring of Returning onto our Lich in the hopes that if he does get targeted, he will just out of the assassination attempt. So, we've got that as far as rituals go. Let me jot that down. And then as far as forging goes, we've got 2 simple things. One is we're going to do another Ring of Returning, right? Rings of Returning are one of the ways that you can kind of get around. It's not a guarantee, but you can kind of get around horrors, and that is by, you know, putting Rings of Returning on all of the important people that you're going to be casting with. If they take damage, boom, they're out of that fight, right? As long as they have enough health to survive a hit and enough MR to not get soul slayed, right? Then typically they have a pretty good shot of making it out. So we're doing 1 Ring of Returning, and over here we are actually doing a Coral Blade. And I'm not worrying about defending the Sea King because he's 172 gold per year, and if he dies, that's less upkeep that we have right now, actually. So, if he dies, he dies. So that's all we're doing as far as forging goes. In world news, I think the only real world news is the annoyance at Armageddon's and also now Astral Corruption's up, right? Which probably means that no more Armageddons are gonna come, depending on how much of a bank Ermor has, right? If Ermor has like a massive bank, they might be like, "Fuck you, I'll Armageddon every turn until I die," right? If they don't, then great. Just means we got to deal with Astral Corruption now. So, that being said, right, like we are set up to kind of move forward towards Astral Corruption proofing ourselves. We do have a golem capable caster, right? So going that route, starting to produce golems, potentially boosting golems if we need to, is a way that we can kind of get around dealing with Astral Corruption. Not looking forward to it, though. Ay. Anyways, that is going to be the end of this turn. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye!
Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. It really helps me out. If you'd like to see me live, head over to my Twitch at twitch.tv/thedistanthorizon.